Hi, my name is Adan Cermeno, and I've been attending Mercy Church since 2019. So I grew up in a small little town called La Feria, Texas. I think maybe Jill and John Trejo know where that is, and nobody else does. But I grew up there, and I lived with my mom, my sister, and my grandma. And my dad lived a town over in a place called Mercedes, Texas. And I knew him, but we never lived together. We were always separate, and he would kind of come over and we would go to the movies, or we'd come up to San Antonio and go to Six Flags. He would kind of take us out to have a good time. But an actual father-son relationship, we didn't really have that. So eventually my mom got married and we moved up here in 2003. And after that, I kind of just lost contact with him. We didn't really talk anymore. Every now and then, one of us would call the other one. We'd spoken maybe 4 times in like 10 years. And when I was 15, I was in high school, and a good friend of mine by the name of Eric Francis, he kind of saw that I was going in a different direction. I was a believer, I was a Christian, and I always had a good relationship with God. But like any 15-year-old, I think I was getting kind of lost. And started kind of falling in with a bad crowd. And he invited me. I remember it wasn't just hey, you should come to church with me. He had a letter, and he gave me a letter, and he said, I want to personally invite you to my youth group. And from that point on, I knew something was different in me. My faith had to be taken seriously, and I wanted to see Christ. I wanted to know God. And I also knew that I wanted to follow him. I wanted to follow his directions. And of course, one of those commandments is honor your mother and father. And I struggled for a long time. I couldn't really figure out how to do that. How do you honor somebody who doesn't answer you anymore? So I was struggling. I was trying to figure out what exactly to do with all of that. And after a while, I think I kind of came to this conclusion, this idea that I think many of us come to of, well, in a perfect world, yeah, you'd be able to follow all of the rules of the Bible, but this isn't a perfect world, so just do your best. And if you can't honor him, then you can't. But the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible doesn't say in a perfect world, follow these orders. It just says follow these orders. So you got to do them, you know? And that hit me really, really hard. I had to figure out how to honor a man who wants nothing to do with me. And I decided, okay, I'm gonna look for this guy. I'm gonna try and find him. And for years and years, I would call and there would be no answer. And I found him on Facebook, and for some reason he friended me on Facebook, but I would message him and he still wouldn't answer. And this went on for a very long time, for a good 5-6 years. And then I didn't give up. Like, I kept looking for him when I could, and I didn't want to just show up to his work. I knew where he worked, but it felt weird to do that, to just show up and be like, hey, it's your son. So I refrained from doing that. But one Sunday afternoon in 2019, I didn't see that I got a call. I just got a voicemail. I remember getting in a car with my friend, and I saw that I had a voicemail. And something told me to just check it right then and there. And it was a voice. It was a voice, and it said he only spoke Spanish, so he said, "Todavía estará en la iglesia." And I heard it, and I knew who it was, but I couldn't believe it. It was just one of those moments. And I called the number immediately, freaking out. And he answered, and I remember just asking, who is this? And he said, soy Jose Guadalupe Cermeno, tu papá. And I don't think I'm ever gonna forget that moment. But it was him. We reconnected and we talked and we found each other again. And he had confessed, he had opened up about how he had been looking for me too. A little about my dad. He grew up in Mexico City, so he didn't really know how to use technology or any of this other stuff. He really couldn't read or write. Not to say that everybody from Mexico City is like that. He didn't go to school, is what I'm saying. He grew up in the streets. He learned how to fix tires, and that was his living. So he had a hard time keeping any phone numbers or really being able to connect with anybody unless they were there, unless they were in person. So we reconnected, and he had been looking for me too, and it was a beautiful thing. And that's not to say that it was a beautiful, happy meet somebody who's living a life that you don't necessarily want to live. You kind of have to take their advice, but you also have to leave a lot of advice. And so there was a lot of that. There was a lot of figuring stuff out, but I'm still, so grateful for it all. In Christmas of 2021, this past Christmas, I went to go see him, and he told me that he was diagnosed with lung cancer, and that the doctors were telling him that it was pretty intense and that he was probably not gonna make it. So he fought until May 4th of this year, and he passed away. It was hard. It was hard to see it, but it's still something I'm so grateful for. It was not perfect by any means, but it's still so much more than I thought I would ever get. And I gotta say to anybody out there, any child or parent who maybe doesn't have a good relationship with their parents or with their kids, if you can swallow your pride and make it work, please do it. Thank you.